Romance of Sui in Tang Dynasties Chapter 70.
Chapter 70 of Su Tangyanyi.
Well, the romance of the
Yeah.
Tang.
And this is one of those, massive historical novels that blends hard history with folklore.
We're witnessing a pivotal handover of power.
We really are.
Exactly. We're looking at the twilight years of Emperor Taizong, one of China's most legendary rulers, the giant of history. The giant, yeah. And we're seeing the very messy, very dangerous rise of the woman who would eventually eclipse his entire dynasty.
Wu Meiniang.
Later known, of course, as Empress Wu.
What strikes me about this chapter is that it's not a battle report. It's a psychological thriller.
Totally.
We're dealing with prophecy, paranoia, and some incredibly high-stakes romance. So
We want to unpack how Wu Meiniang navigated a death sentence using really nothing but her wits.
and the emperor's own superstition.
And using those superstitions against him. It's a masterclass in political maneuvering.
So let's set the scene. We're in the Tang Palace. It's the 7th century. And the vibe I'm getting from the source material is this heavy sense of, decay versus renewal.
Oh, absolutely.
You have the old guard fading out and this terrifying new energy rising up.
That contrast is completely central to the text. And it starts with a character who, often gets overlooked. Empress Xiao.
Right. She's the widow of the previous dynasty, the Sui.
And she's living in the Tang Palace essentially as a trophy of war. A well-treated one, but still.
But the text makes it so clear she is miserable. It describes her as past her prime, which is just a brutal thing to be in a harem system.
It is brutal, and she sort of represents everything the emperor is trying to hold on to but can't.
Exactly.
And the source material uses her to establish the emotional stakes here. She isn't just sad, she is consumed by jealousy. There's a new it girl in the palace.
Wu Meiniang.
Wu Meiniang. And Taizong is completely captivated by her. There's a specific scene where he takes her out to view the Lantern Festival.
The fire trees and silver flowers. And they don't just go for a quick stroll, do they?
No. The text implies they're out from dusk until dawn, completely ignoring everyone else.
And Empress Xiao sees this.
She sees it. She sees the wind flow, which is this, term for romantic elegance between them. And she just realizes her time is truly over.
She just spirals.
She spirals into depression, gets physically sick, and dies.
It's a tragedy, but it reveals something fascinating about Emperor Taizong. Because you'd expect a ruthless conqueror to just, shrug and move on.
But he doesn't.
He doesn't at all.
No, he falls apart. He restores her titles, mourns her deeply, and buries her with honors. And this is the key psychological insight into Taizong in this chapter.
He's a man at war with his own mortality.
Exactly. He's watching his generation die off, and it's making him sentimental, but also desperate.
That desperation leads us straight to the golden stone medicines mentioned in the text, which, to the modern ear, eating gold sounds...
Indigestible.
Yeah, indigestible. But we're talking about alchemy, right?
We are. In this period, external alchemy was the cutting edge of life extension science. They believed that consuming enduring substances like gold, cinnabar, lead, it would make your body enduring too. It wasn't poison to them. It was refining the body into something immortal.
So he's basically poisoning himself with heavy metals in an attempt to live forever. That explains so much of the erratic behavior we see later.
Tragically, yes. And his advisors, especially Zongsun Wuji, they beg him to stop. They tell him the emperor is the foundation of the state. Don't treat your body like a lab experiment.
But he's terrified of death.
He's terrified. He's grieving his friends, like Gao Shilian. The text says he cried so hard, tears fell like rain onto his friend's corpse.
He's grasping at straws,
Yeah.
and that brings up one of the most visceral images in the entire chapter.
Oh, yeah.
The beard incident. This really highlights the intensity of his relationships.
It's a wild story. His general, Zhu Ji, falls ill, and the court doctors prescribe a very specific traditional remedy, dragon beard ash.
Okay, so basically ash from a burnt beard.
Right, and usually you just snip a bit of hair from a servant.
Or the patient's own beard, maybe.
Exactly. But Taizong takes a pair of scissors and cuts off his own imperial beard to burn for the medicine.
We have to pause on that because, for you listening, this isn't just a bad haircut. In Confucian culture, your body, hair, skin...
They're gifts from your parents.
Right. Cutting them is a huge violation of filial piety.
Precisely. And for an emperor, his body is sacred. It's the vessel of the mandate of heaven. For him to mutilate himself for a subordinate, it was shocking.
It sent a message.
It sent a huge message. I value my generals more than my own dignity. And it worked, too. Shuji recovered, probably from a sheer placebo effect of it all.
So we have an emperor who is sentimental, loyal, slowly poisoning himself, and terrified of the end. That is a dangerous combination.
And then the sky starts acting up.
The daylight star.
This is the catalyst.
It really is. The planet Venus appears during the day. In ancient Chinese astrology, Venus is Tai Bai, the metal star.
It represents soldiers, killing, rebellion.
So seeing it in the daytime, that's a massive red flag.
Oh yeah, it's interpreted as yin overpowering yang,
The feminine overpowering the masculine.
or a subject overpowering the ruler. And rumors start flying.
Yeah.
Then a secret text is discovered. It contains a prophecy.
And it says, after 3 generations, a female ruler, a martial king, will hold the world and slaughter the Tang descendants.
Terrifyingly specific.
If you're Taizong, you have to act. But prophecies, they have this nasty habit of misdirection.
And he goes looking for a martial king, and his gaze lands on completely the wrong guy.
Poor General Lei Junxian.
I mean, if it weren't so grim, it would almost be a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
This guy's a loyal general.
But he ticks every single box of the prophecy by pure coincidence.
Every single one. Let's run through the checklist.
Okay, so the prophecy mentions Wu, or marshal.
Right. Lai Junxian's official title is General of the Left Martial Guard. His fiefdom is Wu'an County. That's 2 Wu characters already.
And then comes the kicker.
The drinking game.
At a banquet, right.
Yes. He's at a banquet with the emperor. They're playing a game where everyone has to state their childhood nickname. Lai Junxian speaks up and admits his was
Fifth lady.
Fifth Lady, or Meiniang.
So he's got the Wu character and a feminine nickname. In Taizong's paranoid mind, the puzzle pieces just clicked together.
He thinks, got him. He executes Lai Junxian almost immediately. He believes he has tricked fate.
It shows how desperate he is to regain control. He sees a pattern, acts on it, and thinks the problem is solved.
But we know,
Yeah.
the listener knows, the real Wu is sitting right in his harem.
Wu Meiniang.
Which is where this story shifts from a political purge to a philosophical debate.
And enter the court astrologer, Li Qinfeng.
The MVP of this chapter.
For sure. So Taizong is still anxious. He asks Li, to be safe, should I just kill everyone with the surname Wu?
Which would, of course, include his favorite concubine, Wu Meiniang.
Exactly.
And Li Qinfeng has to talk him down. And his argument is just brilliant. He doesn't appeal to morality.
No, he appeals to pragmatism.
It's the old tiger versus young tiger theory.
That's the one.
He tells Taizong, this person is sent by heaven. You cannot kill them. They will just be reborn.
Uh-huh.
But right now, the person is already in your palace. In 30 years, they will be old. And old people tend to be more benevolent.
If you kill her now, he says,
The aura will transfer to someone young and wrathful, and that person will wipe out your family completely.
that is 4D chess. He's saying better the devil you know, who will eventually be a grandma, than a new devil who's young and angry.
And it works. Taizong accepts the logic. It gives him a valid, superstitious excuse to spare Wu Meiniang, who he likes anyway. He thinks, she's so gentle, surely she's not the threat.
It's a massive reprieve. But the danger isn't gone. Taizong is still sick.
And the text actually blames his illness partly on his lust for Wu Meiniang.
The classic femme fatale trope.
Yeah, the idea that excessive intimacy drains the yang energy of the emperor. But his illness creates a vacuum.
Yeah.
And the crown prince, Li Ji, called Jin Wang in the text.
He comes to the palace to nurse his father.
And this is where the genre shifts to romance. The prince sees Wu Meiniang, and despite his father dying in the next room, he is
Love struck.
totally. He sees her color, her beauty, and decides to break every rule in the book. Which leads us to the famous basin incident.
The scene is just iconic. Wu Meiniang brings a gold basin of water for the prince to wash his hands.
It's an intimate domestic act.
And the prince makes it explicit. He splashes water on her face.
It's playful, but it's also a test, right? He's checking if she'll recoil or play along.
Exactly. Then he recites a poem. He says, I long to see the witch of Wushan, but the clouds and rain are blocked.
And we should clarify, clouds and rain in Chinese literature is a direct metaphor for sexual intimacy.
He is propositioning her. Right there.
And she doesn't flinch. She fires back a poem of her own.
She says what?
She says, before I've even met the wind and clouds of the royal tent, I've already received the rain and dew from the gold basin.
That is incredible wordplay. She acknowledges the rain, the splash.
Accepts the favor, the attention.
And signals she's ready for the wind and clouds, the affair.
It's masterful. She's essentially saying, I haven't had the emperor's full favor, but I accept yours.
And the prince is ecstatic.
He grabs her hand, they sneak off. But once the adrenaline wears off, reality sets in. They're committing treason.
And Wu Meiniang is the practical one here. She starts crying.
She says, I am a lowly concubine. Today I commit a crime for you. But what happens later? When you become emperor, where will I be?
She needs insurance.
She does. And the prince knows this. He swears an oath. If I become emperor and don't make you empress, may heaven reject me. And he gives her a token.
The 9-dragon sheep-fat jade hook. And we need to clarify for you, sheep-fat jade isn't just a funny name.
No, it's the highest grade of white nephrite jade. It has this greasy, waxy luster that looks like congealed fat. It is incredibly rare and valuable.
So this isn't like giving someone a promise ring.
Not at all. It's an imperial pledge. It represents the legitimacy of the throne itself.
So she has the promise, she has the jade, but Taizong is still alive, and right at the end, his paranoia flares up one last time.
He starts feeling a bit better, and his mind goes right back to the prophecy.
Female warrior, surname Wu.
He looks at Wu Meiniang and thinks, wait a minute, could it be her?
This is the climax, and the prince has tipped her off, right?
Yes. The prince had actually coached her. He told her exactly what to say if the emperor cornered her. And sure enough, Taizong confronts her about the prophecy.
This is the moment where most people would panic. They'd argue their innocence. It's not me, I'm loyal.
But she doesn't fight. She does something so much smarter.
She surrenders.
She falls to her knees and begs to become a nun.
She asks to enter the empty gate. She says she wants to shave her head, fast, and pray specifically for the emperor's longevity.
This is the brilliance of her move. By volunteering to leave the world, she removes herself as a political threat.
It hits Taizong right in his ego. He thinks, a nun praying for me? She can't be a warrior king.
It aligns perfectly with the astrologer's advice to let her live. So, he agrees. He sends her to Ganye Temple.
So it looks like a defeat. She's losing her hair, her silks, her luxury. She's being exiled.
But in reality, it's a strategic retreat.
The palace is dangerous. The emperor is unpredictable.
The temple is safe. It's a holding cell where she can wait until Taizong dies and the prince, her lover, takes the throne.
Before we wrap up, there is that weird little side note in the text about the civil service exams.
Oh, right. Li Chunfeng pops up again.
It seems like a tangent, but narratively, it's crucial.
It is. Li Chunfeng has a dream about who will win the top spots in the exams. He writes down the names in a sealed box before the results are even out.
And he's right.
He is 100% accurate. He predicts Direnji will be the top scholar. When Taizong opens the box and sees the names match the real results, he is stunned.
And why does this matter to the Wu Meiniang story?
Because it validates everything. If he's right about the exams, he's right about the prophecy. It confirms to Taizong that he made the right choice in listening to the astrologer and sparing Wu Meiniang. It's the final lock on her safety.
It's just amazing how many things had to go right for her to survive. The beard, distracting the emperor, the scapegoat general.
The astrologer's wild theory, the prince's infatuation.
It's a perfect storm. But you have to give credit to Wu Meiniang's agency. When the moment came, she didn't panic.
Not at all. She seized the opportunity with the prince, and she played the role of the pious nun perfectly when she needed to escape.
She used the system to defeat the system. She understood the rules, the superstitions, the poetry, the filial piety better than anyone else.
So Meiniang is sent home for a bit before she has to go to Ganye Temple.
And this homecoming is really the first sign that things are not going to go by the book. Her father, Wu Shihu, sends for her. And at first, it's quite tragic. Her mother, Lady Yang, is just weeping.
Her daughter's going from luxury to a shaved head. And her maid, Shoxi, is there too. Little joy.
Right. It's a very heavy, emotional scene. But then the text introduces a character who completely changes the temperature in the room. Her nephew, Wu Sanxi.
Okay, let's just clarify who this guy is because he becomes a problem.
He's a recurring problem.
Okay.
The text says he's her nephew, adopted by her father at age 3. He's 15 now.
And the author's description of him is very pointed.
It is. It says he looks like a man, so he's physically mature, but his behavior is just arrested. He's not studying, he's not training, he's just drinking all day with his friends.
And that is exactly how he shows up to this scene. He stumbles in, half drunk, sees Meiniang, and just starts talking. And he's criticizing the emperor.
Yeah, he calls the emperor heartless for sending her away, and he's complaining that her beautiful hair is going to be shaved off.
Which is incredibly dangerous stuff to say.
Oh, for sure. But what's fascinating is Meiniang's reaction. She doesn't scold him. The text says that seeing his beautiful appearance actually cheered her up.
which implies a dynamic that's, let's say, a little closer than your typical aunt and nephew.
Much closer. And later that night, it crosses a line. Sensi, pretending he's more drunk than he really is, basically invites himself to stay in her room.
And Meiniang doesn't kick him out. She tells him to wait till her mother's asleep, and this is the key detail. She tells him not to bolt the door.
Right. The unbolted door. It's an open invitation.
The text uses this really specific phrase to describe what happens next, doesn't it? It's something that needs a bit of unpacking.
It does. It says, that night, they engaged in the confusion of quail and magpie.
The confusion of quail and magpie.
It sounds poetic, but in classical Chinese symbolism, this is just shorthand for disorderly conduct, specifically implying incestuous behavior.
So it's the author's polite way of saying all moral boundaries have just completely collapsed.
Exactly. They are not just talking all night. And her father, Wu Shihu, he kind of catches the vibe and gets terrified.
He's panicked about a scandal. If word gets out that the emperor's concubine is with her nephew right before becoming a nun,
the whole family is done for, so he rushes them out the door the next morning.
But even as she's leaving, she's still plotting. Sansi walks with her down the road, crying, and she tells him explicitly, "If you miss me, come visit me at Ganye Temple during exam time."
She is literally setting up a date at the nunnery before she's even set foot inside.
It's so bold.
It is. And this tells you so much about her character in this story. She is not a passive victim. She's actively maintaining her network, her desires, no matter what walls are put up around her.
She sees the temple not as a prison, but just a new base of operations.
Very much.
So, Meiniang and her maid arrive at Ganye Temple. We meet the abbess, a woman named Chang Ming. Now, is Chang Ming this, like, beacon of spiritual authority?
Not really. She's practical, and she's very skeptical. She takes one look at Meiniang, and her internal monologue just kicks in.
What's she thinking?
She thinks Meiniang is too flower-like, too beautiful. And she looks at the maid, Shaoxi, and thinks she's way too lively. Not a quiet patron.
So she's reading the room perfectly.
She is. The abbess basically sees disaster coming. She's thinking, how on earth are these two going to handle being nuns? She knows they are not built for a life of denial.
But they go through the motions. The hair gets shaved, music plays, they bow. But just as they're settling in, Shaoxi spots someone she knows.
Right, a classic storytelling move. She recognizes a nun named Huai Qing, and it turns out Huai Qing is connected to earlier events in the novel.
And Huai Qing's backstory is incredibly dark compared to all this palace drama.
It really is. It's a stark reminder of what's happening outside the elite bubble. She talks about a famine in Puzhou, then a plague. Her friends all died. She tried to travel to the capital with a scholar, but he was killed by bandits.
It's brutal, just a pure survival story.
Totally. She had to jump in a river to escape and got rescued by a merchant boat. It grounds everything. But narratively, Huai Qing serves another purpose here. She's the gateway to the next illicit connection.
Right, because Huai Qing mentions she has a visitor, a cousin.
A cousin named Feng Xiaobao who runs a medicine shop. And yeah, we should probably use heavy air quotes around cousin here, just like with the nephew. It seems to be code for male companion.
So, one day the abbess is out chanting scriptures, leaving the temple pretty much unsupervised.
It's just Meiniang, Shaoxi, and Huai Qing. And guess who shows up? Feng Xiaobao.
And at first he's nervous about meeting the palace lady.
Yeah, he thinks she'll be all strict. But then he sees her, and that fear just vanishes. The text goes into this crazy, flowery description of her. Even with a shaved head, she has cheeks like peach blossoms.
And Feng is just stunned. He's completely captivated. And what happens next is like a classic romance novel move.
It turns into a poetry slam. Right there in the nunnery.
I love this part.
It's fantastic. Feng writes a poem on flower paper about being a butterfly lost in flowers. It is not subtle. He's positioning himself as a lover.
And Meiniang responds. She doesn't act all offended that this stranger is hitting on her in a temple.
Oh, quite the opposite. She writes a poem back that's even more provocative. She uses the same flowers and butterflies imagery, talks about infinite pleasure, but there's this one line that really stands out to me.
Which one?
She writes about having unpaid debts of love to the flower god.
Unpaid debts to the flower god. Wow. So she's framing romantic pleasure as, what, like a spiritual duty?
Precisely. She's subverting the whole religious setting. Instead of owing a debt of prayer to Buddha, she says she owes a debt of passion to the god of flowers. She's making desire her religion.
And the scene just dissolves into a full-on party after that.
Yeah. They hide the poems when they hear the abbess coming, but later they all get together. Meiniang, Huaiqing, Shaoxi, and Feng. They're drinking wine, eating food, just mocking and laughing.
So the abbess is outside doing her job, and inside, the future empress is basically hosting a mixer with a medicine shop owner.
It just hammers home that theme. You can't contain her. The walls of the temple can't hold her personality. She turns a house of worship into a salon just by being there.
Okay, so just as we're getting comfortable with this temple comedy, the text yanks us out. We go back to the palace, and the tone shifts completely.
Right. This is chapter 4 of our breakdown. It's the 23rd year of Zhenguan. Emperor Taizong, the man who sent Meiniang away, is on his deathbed.
And this is the anchor of the story,
Right.
really. Without this, she's just breaking rules. This is the catalyst.
It's everything. Taizong summons his top ministers, and he's in this reflective, almost mournful mood. He's talking about how hard it was to unify the country, mourning the advisors he's already lost.
It's a real moment of vulnerability for a guy known as a warrior emperor.
It is. And he hands over the keys. He entrusts the crown prince, Li Zi, to his ministers. He calls the prince and his wife good children, which is, tragically ironic.
Knowing what's coming.
Exactly. But in that moment, it's a solemn transfer of power. Taizong dies, the crown prince becomes Emperor Gaozong.
So, new emperor, new era. And this is where the two worlds, the solemn court and the chaotic temple, are about to crash into each other.
We jump forward 1 year. It's the anniversary of Taizong's death. And by custom, the new emperor, Gaozong, has to visit Ganye Temple to burn incense.
But there is a huge logistical problem at the temple. Because guess who's visiting that exact day?
Feng Xiaobao, the medicine shop cousin.
And this whole scene plays out like a farce. The Emperor of China is walking in the front door, and they've got a strange man hiding in the back.
The tension is insane. The abbess knows that if the emperor finds a strange man in the nunnery, it's a death sentence. For everyone. So she makes a split-second decision. She grabs a razor.
And saves his head on the spot.
And turns him into a monk in 30 seconds. It's incredible.
And the disguise actually works. Gaozong sees him and asks who he is. They just lie and say he's a nephew who's a monk.
And here's the twist. Gaozong totally buys it. He's not suspicious at all. He's actually helpful.
Right. He says, oh, the White Horse Temple needs more monks. Here's a certificate. Go move there.
So this medicine seller gets an official imperial ordination and a promotion to a major temple, all because of a cover-up.
It kind of highlights Gaozong's naivety, doesn't it? He's being played right to his face.
Oh, completely. He ends up promoting the guy who was flirting with his future wife.
But once that bit of comedy is over, we get the real moment, the reunion. Gaozong sees Meiniang.
And the text says they both just burst into tears. You have to remember, they had a connection before she left. Seeing her there, shaved head, humble setting. It breaks him.
And he doesn't just cry and leave. He makes a move that violates all the rules his father just died trying to protect.
He does. He secretly tells the abbess to let Meiniang bundle her hair.
Which is code for let it grow back.
Exactly. And he promises to send someone to bring her back to the palace soon.
And that's where our text leads us. With a secret promise and a hair growth plan, it's the turning point. She's going from discarded concubine to the new emperor's favorite.